Hi and Assalamualaikum. I am QURRATU'AINI binti TAUFEK.
Assalamualaikum. My name is SITI FITRI IHDINI binti MOHD LAJIS.
Our research topic is
Cyberbullying Youth Awareness Among Students in Higher Learning Institution in NILAI, Negeri Sembilan.
Let's start.
We started with the research background. This chapter focuses on the background of the study, which is the youth awareness against cyberbullying that mainly focus on youth in public higher educational institution of Negeri Sembilan. The topic of cyberbullying has been proposed to study because the practice of cyberbullying is increasingly known so much, so that it makes the matter serious, especially among youth nowadays. Cyberbullying can also be defined as an aggressive act accompanied by intent that show a deliberate act either collectively or individually against the victim, using methods that are not at all typical of traditional bullying, precisely by using new communication technology.
Let's take a look at a problem statement. According to a United Nations Children's Fund UNICEF report, Malaysia has become second place in Asia for youth cyberbullying. This result shows that cyberbullying in the country has become increasingly important. The statement above shows that there is widespread cyberbullying in Malaysia. There is an urgent need to examine the awareness regarding cyberbullying, especially the youth. The students propose to study the youth awareness against cyberbullying.
Move on to the research question. There are three research questions for our research. The first one is, what is the level of youth awareness against cyberbullying in higher learning institution in NILAI, Negeri Sembilan? The second one is, what are the particular factors of cyberbullying? And the last one is, what are the impact on the parties involved in cyberbullying? For the research objective, we have target three objectives from the research, which are to analyze the level of youth awareness against cyberbullying in higher learning institution in NILAI Negeri Sembilan, to identify the particular factors of cyberbullying, as well as to identify the impact on the parties involved in cyberbullying.
Then, scope of study, which the research focuses only on the higher learning institutions in NILAI Negeri Sembilan. The public universities that chosen in conducting the research are Polytechnic NILAI and University Science Islam Malaysia, as known as USIM. Next, significance of the proposed study, in which first is beneficial to the society, whereby they can know what cyberbullying all is about. Second is administrators, which can be guided in creating better policy and regulations or revise them regarding cyberbullying. Next, the youth, which the young people will be careful in using information and communication technologies and improve their ethics and behavior in digital platforms. Last, the body of knowledge. People who seek and intend to discover new knowledge regarding cyberbullying can be gained through this research. Next, definition of terms, terminology and concepts, which youth is those individuals who reach between the age of 15 and 24 years without prejudice to other definitions by member states. Cyberbullying is bullying with the utilization of digital technologies. It can occur on social media, gaming and messaging platforms, as well as mobile phones. Let's focus on literature review, which youth in recent times are using and applying technology in a variety of approaches, including posting, texting, tweeting, chatting, and online gaming through a variety of internet platforms. First reason of cyberbullying is peer factors, which to gain and sustain social power or to raise their position among them, as well as to monitor the behavior of their peers. Cyberbullying can lead to intense psychological and emotional pain, which other issues can be happen like self-harm and suicide.
Based on the literature review that has been constructed, the conceptual framework is developed. As you can see, the figure presents the conceptual framework, which states that the youth awareness among students in higher learning institutions in NILAI Negeri Sembilan has a relation with four independent variables, which are attitude, knowledge, peers influence, and the use of digital platform. However, there is a mediating variable that links the independent. Plus, there is also moderator precisely intelligent quotient IQ level that moderates the effect an independent variable has on a dependent variable. The second figure shows a direct relation between the determinants of the theory of planned behavior, which are attitude, subjective norm, as well as perceived behavior control in determining the behavior. This theory of planned behavior has been chosen to relate with youth awareness because it influences a person's behavior intention. This theory also depends on intention and behavioral control. The first independent variable, which is attitude, is the main driver of the response of every action performed by a person, whether the response leads to negative or positive behavior. The second behavior is knowledge, the way of acquiring. The knowledge that has been possessed may be different according to the individuals because the method on how the knowledge is absorbed into a person can be influenced by several factors, either through hearing, reading, sight, or feeling of the presence of some things. Next, the peers influence as the third independent variables. Peers group are sometimes able to be a model and influence the action of another person. Last but not least, the use of digital platform as the fourth independent variable. The frequency of use of technology is also a contributor to determine a person's behavior, whether the behavior is positive or negative.
Let's talk about research design, which a qualitative research method is used to answer questions regarding meaning, experience, and perspective, as well as most always from the point of view of the participants. Then, case study is chosen as a research design in this qualitative research. Then, the unit analysis of this study involves people who are students in higher learning institutions. Let's take a look at sample size. Sample size for qualitative research normally possess smaller numbers than quantitative research. Sample size that's suitable to analyze this research is 30 units as mentioned by some researchers. The Polytechnic NILAI students will have 10 participants and University Science Islam Malaysia USIM will have 20 participants. Net sampling technique. Sampling technique is non-probability sampling technique, which is convenient sampling technique will be used to conduct this case study. This technique is also a relatively fast and easy method to gain the sample size required for the analysis.
There are two variables that have been divided, which are dependent variables and independent variables. Youth awareness among students in higher learning institutions has been the dependent variable in this research study. Dependent variables means the results that are related to the independent variables. Moreover, the dependent variable will also depend on the independent variables to achieve the desired result. In this research, it is acknowledged that the result to be measured is the level of awareness of students about the practice of cyberbullying in institutions of higher learning. Undeniably, the result will depend on predetermined independent variables, namely attitudes, knowledge, peer influence, and the use of digital platform. Change to each independent variable will directly change the result of the dependent variables that wants to be measured.
Next, data collection, which consists of primary and secondary data. For primary data will be gained through interviews, like the students will ask permission to take audio taping. There is open-ended question as well in interviews. For secondary data, which consists of books, journal articles, newspapers, online, conference paper, which to support the information for this study. The desktop research technique will be practiced in order to gain secondary data, in which very essential for this research.
In this qualitative research, case study has been used because it is a thorough analysis of a modern phenomenon in the context of real life. So, the discourse analysis technique of data analysis is suitable to be used. The history of the discourse analysis is derived from formal linguistic approach. Furthermore, the philosophy for this type of discourse analysis has emphasized on the interaction with multiple discourse in order to obtain the knowledge and meaning. Undeniably, the discourse analysis is actually aiming to comprehend the pupil's language usage that might be different to each other because of identities, relationship, as well as social goods that have been created throughout multiple forms of discourse. The first finding for our research is demographic profile. The table has displayed the data of respondents' demographic profile that have been participated and collected in the research. All the participants involved are students from either University Sains Islam Malaysia USIM or NILAI Polytechnic, since the scope of the research study is higher learning institution at NILAI Negeri Sembilan, and the target respondents are the youth generation aged 18 to 24 years old. Move on to the main findings. The first finding is related with the first objective, which is the level of youth awareness against cyberbullying in higher learning institution in NILAI Negeri Sembilan. Findings that have been obtained from the research study reveal that most of participants, precisely 19 participants, which are about 93% of all participants, are aware of cyberbullying, and the level of awareness on a scale is 4. The second finding is related with the second objective, which is factor of cyberbullying. There are 4 factors of cyberbullying, which are attitude, knowledge, peers influence, and the use of digital platform. Most of the participants support that attitude as a factor that can encourage the occurrence of cyberbullying. The majority of participants who were interviewed think that cyberbullying is caused by a person's attitudes compared to other factors, which are knowledge, peers influence, and the use of digital platform. The reason is a person's attitude will affect the good or bad of an individual's action.
Let's take a look for findings. The research objective is to identify impacts on the parties involved in cyberbullying. It can be categorized into 2, which are the bully victim and the bullies. For the bully victim, most of the respondents stated mental problems are the impacts on the victims of cyberbullying, such as depression. The mental problems can lead to the other negative issues like suicidal ideation. For the bullies, majority of the respondents stated that the bullies want to continue to cyberbully others. This matter will make cyberbullying issues increase.
To summarize the research objective, cyberbullying is not something new in Malaysia because it has existed for a long time. It seems like a new crime because cyberbullying was not much emphasized to the public before. It has been found that the majority of participants gave response that they are aware of cyberbullying that happened around them. However, their observation states that cyberbullying still occurs on social media because the seriousness of this act is not given too much attention by the appropriate parties, especially the government. This is in line with the first objective of this study, which aims to measure the level of awareness of the youth in higher learning institutions against cyberbullying. Apart from that, the findings of this research also points out that the particular factor that can contribute to the occurrence of cyberbullying, the factor of cyberbullying resulting from participants' response, include attitude, knowledge, peers influence, and the use of digital platform. However, the majority of participants state that attitude is the main factor in cyberbullying because cyberbullying starts from someone's bad behavior first.
Next, for research recommendations. The implications for future action need to be clear. The government consists of ministries need to implement and emphasize continuous programs regarding cyberbullying. Strategic collaboration also can be implemented among various agencies. The Ministry of Higher Education must encourage universities to make programs that can prevent cyberbullies. The universities must execute cyberbullying programs like campaign and provide effective support system like counseling sessions. Families must also control and be aware regarding their children's attitude on social media an individual must take a good action like not wanting to be involved with cyberbullying and attend the programs that can enhance their knowledge about cyberbullying. That's all from me. Thank you.
Several research limitations has been identified, including sample bias, geographic area of research that is not comprehensive, and the time constraint. The first one is sample bias. In this research study, participants will be selected randomly, but researchers are more likely to choose male respondents. The reason is male participants are more available when data collection is held rather than female participants. The data will also be inaccurate because it does not represent the entire view of students who belong to the youth generation. As a future research suggestion, the number of male and female participants should also be balanced to obtain a balanced data analysis. In such a way, information on cyberbullying will be more varied. Next, geographic area of research that is not comprehensive is also a limitation for researchers. To draw a valid conclusion from the data collection of a research study, concentration of a wider research area is very important. It only covers 2 public universities in NILAI and not all public universities in Malaysia. However, this geographic area of research can be said to be small considering that researchers have constraints in terms of cost to conduct a larger research that includes the entire public university in Malaysia. The recommendation that needs to be improved for future research is to increase the size of research geographic area which is conducting research in other public universities to gain youth generation opinion on cyberbullying. Last but not least, time constraints are also research limitation in this research study. This research study has used the convenient sampling technique to collect the data which will be conducted through face-to-face interview with respondents. This process is time-consuming because academic researchers are also a full-time student and need to follow the deadlines of sending research paper. The selection of the time to carry out the face-to-face interview needs to be in accordance with the time where the research study takes place precisely. The university operates time and the researcher schedule. Hence, future research recommendation to overcome this time constraint limitation is giving sufficient time to researchers in order to help them analyze as well as synthesize the data provided to create more thoughtful ideas and analyze the data in more detail.